Back everyone. Today we're going to be talking about angles of a triangle, and specifically it's called the triangle sum theorem. And basically what it says is if we were to take the inside angles of any triangle, it always adds or sums to 180 degrees. So here we have an example, and they're asking us to find the measure of each numbered angle. So what we're trying to find is the measure of angle 1, measure of angle 2, and the measure of angle 3. Well, one thing to note here is that we already know certain things about these triangles because angle 1 and angle 2 are the same angle by vertical angles. So once we find one of them, we will be able to tell what the other one. So we're going to start by looking at this triangle right here. And I know that I am given the fact that we have 43 and we have 74. Well, if I could just take that sum away from 180, I will be able to tell what the measure of angle 1 is. So if we add those together and then subtract from 180, we would get a total of 63 degrees. Okay, so we get that the measure of angle 1 is 63 degrees, so we know measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2 are equal to 63 degrees. So I'm going to just label that in this picture here, that this also is 63. So we'll use the same strategy to figure out the measure of angle 3. So to get the measure of angle 3, we're going to take 180 minus 63 and then minus 79. And we're going to get that that's 38 degrees. All right, so maybe we should start with the triangle over here, this D, C, and it got cut off, but that's E. We'll start with that one so we can find the measure of angle 1. So we take 180 minus 38 minus 67 to get 75. So we know in this triangle, since these again are vertical angles, that the measure of angle 2 is also going to be 75 degrees. So to find that other missing angle, we're going to take 180 minus 75 minus 48, and I got 57 degrees. All right, this one is kind of a hard one to kind of understand, so maybe I'll just show you with a picture. So this theorem, I guess, if you want to call it, it states that if you know these two angles that are farthest away, that those two angles together are going to be equivalent to this one. So we're going to see some examples and how this is going to work. So here we have the theorem itself, and again that means that this angle here, 1, will equal angle A plus B together. We're going to be talking about flow proofs, not very much in this particular lesson, but we use boxes and arrows. Okay, so here we have another example of this theorem that we were talking about. These angles that are farthest away are going to be equivalent to this angle, so we can set up an equation. So if we add 48 to both sides, we get 2x on this side, and take away x from both sides, and we get x is actually equal to 80 degrees. So it asks us to find the measure. Again, with geometry, you always have to go back and make sure you've answered the questions that they're looking for. So in this case, they wanted us to find the measure of FLW. So FLW is this outside one. So to do that, we're going to have to take 2 multiplied by 80 and then subtract 48, and I got 112 degrees. Similarly, we see that these two angles are the farthest away, so the sum of those two together will equal this one. So we can say that x plus 90 degrees from that symbol will equal 3x plus 10. So go ahead and solve that for your x value, and we get 2x on this side. We get 80 on that side, divide both sides, and we get x is equal to 240. So again, make sure you go back and check the question. We have to go back and answer the question, find the measure of A, C, D. They're asking for this outside measure again. So we substitute our 40 back in there, plus 10, and we get 120 plus 10, which gives me 130 degrees. A corollary here. A corollary is a theorem with a proof that follows as a direct result from one theorem. And a corollary can be used as a reason in a proof. So here are some of the other corollaries that we do know. We know that if we have a right angle right here, that these two angles must be acute, and they also must add up to 90, which means that they are considered complementary. And so there's just an abbreviation instead of writing all those words. There can be at most one right angle or an obtuse. So if you have a right angle, that's going to be the largest that there is. Otherwise, you could have something bigger, or all of them are acute. So here again, we have some more examples of finding angle measure. In this first example, we want to just find the ones that we think might be the easiest ones to find. So let's go with this triangle here. So to me here, I see that that whole triangle is going to have a sum of 180. So to get the measure of angle 5, I can subtract 90 and then subtract 41. If I know that, then I can go ahead and find some of these other angles. So these two here are vertical angles. So if I can find this one, that will be the same as this one. So if I wanted to find that one, I'd be 180 minus 48 minus 56. So that would give me the measure of angle 2. So the measure of angle 2, let's see, I get 76. So this here is 76, which means this is 76. And then we have, if this here is a right angle and that is 34 degrees, then the remaining one is going to be 90 minus 34, which gives me 56. So, and now I have in this triangle right here, I can figure out the measure of angle 4, because it will be 180 minus 56 minus 76, and that will be the measure of angle 4, and we get 180 minus 48. Okay, so if that's true, then we can maybe see what's the last one we have. 180, so this is 49 degrees. And that's the measure of angle 5. 76 was the measure of angle 2. So we have to get the measure of angle 1. And this is the measure of angle 4. So let's start with getting the measure of angle 1. So the measure of angle 1, you could get that several ways, but in this case, I'm going to use the fact that these two are a linear pair. So to figure out the measure of angle 1, I'm going to take 180 minus 76, and that will give me 104. So if that's true, if measure of angle 1 is 104, we can then go to figure out the rest of our triangle. Okay, so let's see. That means this would be 104. So we could look at the inside part of that triangle here. So measure of angle 3 is going to equal 180 minus 104 minus this angle of 34. I get 42 degrees. I think that's it. So we got measure of angle 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, the next one I'd like you to go ahead and give a try, and then I will go over it with you. All right, I came up with the measure of angle 1 to be 50 degrees. Remember, the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2 are going to be congruent because of the fact that they are what's called a vertical angle. So that will also be 50 degrees. And one thing to note over here is that these two are linear pairs again, so that's going to be 45 because we're going to take 180 minus 135. And if this measure is 45, then that means this measure is 45. So let's start with the orangish one here. So we're looking at the orangish one, and I would get 180 minus 50 minus 45, and that one I get to be is 85 degrees. And they didn't ask us to find the measure of angle 5, but we're going to use that exterior angle theorem that says the measure of angle 5 is actually going to equal 45 plus 75, which comes up to be 120.